So it looks like Xbox might actually not get Final Fantasy games for pretty much the entire generation, the entire Xbox Series X generation. There's been rumors going around about that, and I wanted to talk about it. But before we get on to the video, definitely hit that like button if you guys enjoy the video. You can always subscribe to the channel for weekly content. And don't forget to go over there and follow me at Twitter at LordAddictIOP, and you can also follow me on Twitch at Iron Lords Podcast. Without any further ado, let's talk about a world without Final Fantasy on the Xbox platform. What's going on, you guys? Gaming Addict here, coming at you with another video. For those of you that's been following this channel for a while, you guys know I'm a huge fan of JRPGs, the Final Fantasies. I've recently picked up a lot of Dragon Quest. You know, those type of games really resonate towards me because those are the games I really grew up on. And that's one of the things I've always vocalized on this channel when it comes to the Xbox platform is the lack of those type of games. We have gotten better support with that, with certain Final Fantasy games coming to the platform. We've had some Yakuza's come to the platform, and we actually had Dragon Quest come to the platform a few years ago. But I personally feel like that's still not enough. We need the best games in that genre to come to the platform. And I've always had hope that Microsoft will do better on working with Square Enix, working with these Japanese developers to get these games on their platform. Sure, sometimes it's deals that, you know, the publishers make with other companies such as Sony, but I've always had hope that, you know, at least the Final Fantasy franchise will come to the platform day and date after this relationship with Final Fantasy VII Remake is ended. But it looks like a lot of people that I trust are out there running with this notation and this rumor going around that it does look like Sony has locked down Final Fantasy for pretty much the entire Xbox Series X and X generation. Now, I've seen a lot of people on Twitter, and I don't understand this mentality, this mindset that's like, Addict, the reason that this isn't important is because these franchises didn't even really sell on the Xbox platform. And to me, I understand that to a point, but I don't get it on this standpoint. I understand that these games might not necessarily have sold, but whose fault is that? That is Microsoft and Square Enix's fault for making sure other games are on the platform when sequels come out. For instance, Kingdom Hearts 3 may not have sold the greatest on the Xbox One. And why is that? Because Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 at that time were not on the platform. So why did they ever think that Kingdom Hearts 3 would come on the platform? Sure, a lot of Final Fantasies don't really have anything to do with the previous Final Fantasies, but when you put out something like Final Fantasy 15 out there, and at the time 10, 12, I mean, we still don't have 14 or 11, which, you know, 11 is not as morally relevant as 14 is, but you guys get my point. 9 wasn't on the platform, 8 wasn't on the platform, 7 was on the platform. How do you expect to build a viewership, but build a consumer base on a platform when you're not getting any of the good JRPGs? And I'm not saying that the other JRPGs are bad, I'm just saying when you continuously get good JRPGs, people are going to surf around other JRPGs. When you get the best in the business, people are going to really like that type of genre, and they're going to entertain other ideals of games that play similar to like that, that's in the same genre, and you're going to broaden your horizons and try other games. Xbox has never really had that type of experience. We get franchises sometimes when they're 7, 8 games in. We finally just recently got Final Fantasy X, Final Fantasy VII, and Final Fantasy IX. And you got to keep in mind, these games have been on multiple platforms throughout the past 10, 15 years and never hit an Xbox platform. Back on the PS3 era, that was not on the 360. We didn't get the Final Fantasy X remake on the 360. We got that only on the PS3. Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, only on the PS3. And you know what's even worse? Some of these games even went to the Vita, and they didn't go onto an Xbox platform until the end of the Xbox One generation. And I think a lot of that has to do with Game Pass and how enticing it is to pay people to bring games onto that platform, so they have really nothing to lose. So at the end of the day, I don't think this is Microsoft's fault, because I do feel like the Japanese relations between Sony and Square Enix and other developers and publishers, gamers that's over there on that side of the world, they have better relations with each other because that's their native people. You can talk to them a lot easier, and you can actually strike deals a lot easier because you're not dealing with a foreign company such as Microsoft. But I do feel like if Microsoft can't get their hands on the Final Fantasies, perhaps the next Dragon Quest isn't going to come to Xbox day and date. They need to start doing more enticing moves to make sure there's those type of games on their platform that's exclusive. For instance, I have brought up Mistwalker multiple times on this channel. Go talk to him. Get him to come back to the console market and make another Lost Odyssey. If he is not up for debate, go talk to another company. Build companies if you have to. But my point is sure, there's going to be certain things that's on PlayStation, on Xbox, but at the end of the day, a lot of those exclusives is because the company owns them. But when you're losing an entire company such as Square Enix when it comes to their big content games, and we don't know if stuff like Dragon Quest is going to be there, but the way it's looking, especially with Final Fantasy, we might not see another Final Fantasy on the Xbox platform for a very long time. So my mindset's like, Microsoft, you need to do better to make these games on your platform. And at this point, since Sony's going above and beyond to make sure that those type of games are not only on their platform, but they're exclusive to their platform. Remember when Final Fantasy VII Remake came out? That was a big game and that was only on PlayStation. When the DLC came out, that was a big game and that was only on PlayStation. You need to entice people to play this type of games on your platform, not only because it's on your platform, because it is only on that platform. You can't just strictly go off, oh, we finally got the game over here, that's good enough. Microsoft, you're going to have to not only make sure that as many third-party Japanese role-playing games comes over to your platform, you're going to have exclusive content to force people to buy an Xbox, to do that word of mouth, to say, yo, Lost Odyssey 2 is amazing, you guys got to get the game, to be in these Xbox Live parties telling their friends how good Lost Odyssey 2 is. And until you really take that type of content seriously and you start opening up studios to make that type of content exclusive to your platform, I don't blame the Square Enix for not taking Microsoft seriously, and Microsoft does need to work better on this. Sure, they got that studio in Japan through the Bethesda purchase, but it's going to take more than that. It's going to take you getting a studio because you're pursuing that studio. You're not getting it through a bundle of studios that you bought by buying an entire company. And until Microsoft really puts their flag down there and they want to entice Japanese role-playing games to not only come on their platform, but take them seriously enough to invest into their ecosystem, I feel like you're going to see more stuff like this. If they take this stuff more seriously, maybe by next generation, Square Enix wouldn't make that type of deal with Sony, because not only would the game sell better on Xbox because you're slowly introducing that type of game to your market, to your consumer base, and to your ecosystem, now you're going to have more better relationship with them because you are investing into their ecosystem. You are putting money into Japan to these studios. You're putting people to work over there. And I do understand nothing's ever going to be different than Sony working with a Japanese company. You're never going to get people to work with Microsoft like they work with Sony because Sony is over there, but you can do better. And I've always said on this channel, Microsoft can do better when it comes to the Japanese role-playing games, and I feel like they are slowly getting to that point. And like I said, I don't think this Final Fantasy thing is something Microsoft could have done anything about, but I do think they need to start putting their best foot forward to making sure in the long term, because this is not something that can be done in the short term. Let's just be real. If you want to play Japanese role-playing games such as Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, or you want to play anything in that kind of field with Final Fantasy in general, especially Final Fantasy, you're going to have to buy a PlayStation 5 or a Nintendo Switch, and that's just how it is. But my thing with Microsoft is like, look, you clearly lost the short-term war because of relations. Phil Spencer is doing a good job, but he can't do enough quick enough. It's going to be a long-term thing, but it's just like, let's start building these bridges now. That way, by the end of the Xbox Series S and X generation, you're going to shut Addict up. That's all I want. I want Microsoft to shut me up. I want Microsoft to start making content that appeals to that type of gameplay, and it's really going to get people to invest into that type of gameplay. And then, you know, hopefully we'll start seeing more of a positive reception in the Japanese market with the devs and the publishers alike. And I think Microsoft's done a way better job than they did in the early Xbox One generation. But like I said, they can do way better, and I know that that is something that Phil Spencer is looking into. He did say that he loved the fact that they had that studio over there when they bought Bethesda, and that was one of the key components that he really enjoyed that he bought ZeniMax for. Well, he didn't buy ZeniMax, that Microsoft bought ZeniMax for, because he wants to have better footing over there. Maybe they'll be able to use that studio and, you know, entice more people to work for that studio, get better relationships with people around that side of the world. We'll see better relations in general with the Japanese developers and publishers. But anyway, that's my rant about it. I know this is a little bit longer video than it normally is. I'm definitely just passionate about this. When it comes to Japanese role-playing games, I was born into the gaming industry with Final Fantasy, and I just want to see Microsoft pursue more of these type of games. I know they're doing better with stuff like Yakuza Like a Dragon, and I really enjoyed that game, but we got to do more, man. Can't be all Western games. It's got to be Japanese games as well, because at the end of the day, the only way Game Pass is going to really succeed is if it's as diverse as possible, and Japanese role-playing games is a completely different genre, and it's got a huge following, so you need to make sure you get that as well. But anyway, this is Gaming Addict. I'm out of here. Peace.